thrilled to have back here with us is one of our favorites, and I'd say that even if he wasn't sitting to my right. Better Call Saul is back for its 6th and final season. The second part of the final season was going to be airing in the middle of July, but we started seeing new episodes of Better Call Saul last week on AMC. The man who plays Howard Hamlin, Patrick Fabian, back here. Good to see you, sir.
Hey, man, good to see you. Thanks for having me back.
Okay, so you guys are all shot out, right? It's all done?
It is all done. It is just going to be laid out for you at this point. So, just like you, Monday night, I sat down to watch it again, like I have since the beginning, because I've said this before, I'm in a nice show about lawyers who have emotional problems. And then I watch the show and I'm like, what are we doing in the desert? What's all this gunplay going on? So it's a revelation for me, too. Especially this season, because we're so much of a family on the show. We would go and watch each other's scenes when we weren't in them, So I spent a lot of time watching other stuff, supporting one another. But because we were shooting during COVID restrictions, things got really tight and narrow. So this season especially, I would read the scripts and know what was going on, but I only would be a part of what Howard was doing in this final season. And so Monday night was a reminder of, I'd read it about a year ago, and all of a sudden I'm like, that happened.
Right.
And it was all sense memory for me. So it's unfolding brand new for me as well.
And then you also get to see how it is all shot as well. And it's just so beautiful. The whole thing is just remarkable how this show plays on the screen.
Well, Marshall Adams is our DP and director of photography. And we got to go ahead and see the premiere in a movie theater at the American Legion here in Hollywood. And it was a reminder that these guys are painting pictures for the big screen. It's so lusciously, lit and shot. Ray Seahorn said to me early in, I think it was season 2. Man, that was the first season. And she came up to me at one point. She'd done a day of work, and she came to me and she goes, "Look, I'm not accusing you of Patrick of being the kind of actor who's waiting for his close-up to turn it on. I would never accuse you of that." She said, "However, if you are," she goes, "I just did a whole days of work yesterday." She goes, "And I'm pretty sure they're using the wide." And sure enough, I've been in a number of scenes in this where the final product is a shot and we're two silhouettes and you hear the dialogue. And they never punch in on my face. Not that I'm counting.
Patrick Fabian here on the Rich Eisen Show. And the actors that you have been with on screen are throughout this entire series. And again, this is very serious stuff, but I mean, there is a certain comedic element. Sometimes you can laugh at some of these scenes as well. And the character Saul Goodman, certainly from Breaking Bad, is that. You've got Bob Odenkirk, Michael McKean, who was in the first several years of this show.
The mighty Michael McKean, I like to call. Anytime I read a scene and I saw that Michael and I were in a scene together, I thought, oh, we're okay because Michael's in it.
I mean, and did you ever pull him aside, never pick his brain about like Spinal Tap or anything like that, or back in the day?
Both him and Bob aren't jukeboxes. Like, hey, tell me a story about this.
Right.
So I learned to sort of like rope him in sideways to get him talking about something.
Yes.
They're avid readers. And so when they weren't working, they would sit there and they would read hardback books. They were voracious readers about all sorts of things.
Okay.
And they would trade the books back and forth to one another. I'm not saying that Ray and Mando and I didn't sit there and read as well. We read tweets and we took selfies. So, I mean, not like I'm totally throwing them under the bus.
You're a very well-read man, and 280 characters at a time. I understand.
Absolutely.
I follow you on Twitter. So,
but sometimes we would be like, hey, what about da-da-da? And all of a sudden, McKean especially would be like, he'd overhear like a snippet of a conversation. He'd go, oh, that's interesting. When I was working with the Credibility Gap in the 1970s, and then we would just put down our stuff because he would go on a story and roll with stuff. So that's how we would get gems out of him and Bob.
I mean, just the stories that he came on this show last year or something like that.
Something like that.
And I just kept on peppering him one after another because of the stuff that he's done. And now I just saw, I just reminded again, episode 1 of this season, you're with Ed Begley Jr., which is another one. I think he was, if I'm not mistaken, Ed Begley Jr., speaking of Spinal Tap, was one of the drummers that exploded in Spinal Tap.
Was he?
Yes, he was.
If you said any phrase, I think Ed Begley was, fill in the blank. There's like a good 50-50 chance.
Yes,
true.
In the black and white photo videos of the early days of Spinal Tap, and the drummers began to explode. He was the first one who exploded, Ed Begley Jr.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
but he's great to work with too.
Ed
is just an open heart. He's been around. He knows what's what, and And also working with Ed, kind of like with working with Michael, I'd be in the scene and, of course I'm in the scene. I'm a professional. I would not be thinking about anything other than what my character is thinking.
Nice.
But on occasion,
yes.
I would sit there and I'd get outside of myself going like, that's Michael McKean I'm working with. Or, oh, that's Ed. And then sometimes with Ed, I would also be like, is Ed listening to me? Because Ed has that wonderful quality about him where he's completely present, but it almost looks like I feel like my words are like going over his skull. And he's just like, I don't even know what you're saying. He's just got to say what he wants.
Well, I love this show, and it's always so difficult to interview anybody who's involved with this show or with Breaking Bad prior to it, is because you can't tell me a damn thing about what's coming up, nor would I kind of want to know it either. You know, but I still do want to know, because the aspect about this show that's fascinating, and certainly your character's one of them, is that your character created for this series, not from the Breaking Bad world. But I'm wondering how you do get connected to that world and why you're not in it. And that's part of, and the same thing with Rhea Seehorn's character as well, to see how your characters wind up and then what happens to you. You're one of the few characters where I'm kind of on the edge of my seat wondering if you make it.
Well,
or
I mean,
not,
part of that's the setup from the end of season 5, which, in case you haven't watched, is on Netflix.
Attaboy.
1 through 5 are available on Netflix.
Okay.
You know, they sort of set it up that Kim and Jimmy have their sights set on Howard, wanting to take him down. So I think there's concern there. And the fact that we don't exist in Breaking Bad. But as it's been pointed out, we never saw Saul Goodman go home during Breaking Bad. He was always at the office. So there's that idea of like, him and Kim can be together. Does he go home to Kim? Also, in life, people don't always have to have something dramatic to all of a sudden no longer be friends or be involved with one another. As of this point, Howard's washed his hands of Kim and Jimmy. You know what I mean? So by all we know, for all we know, in Breaking Bad, Howard's just still, putting around doing his law, doing his thing. There's no reason to have him in Breaking Bad. So I don't know. I can tell you this though. Vince and Gilligan aren't the kind of Vince Gilligan and Peter Gould aren't the head writers who just write to show something for splash. Everything that they have happen to all the characters happens because the story dictates it. So you're in good hands with that. If you've liked what you've seen so far, I can guarantee you're going to be very interested in seeing what happens with all of season 6.
Is it possible that your character's managing the Cinnabon where Saul Goodman has to go hide out in the next?
I would love it. Would that be great?
Pull back.
Would that be great?
What a twist.
Where
he's the regional manager. He's just coming in to check on what's going on. Are we using enough icing?
Like you're telling him to sweep up.
This is not standard.
That would be great.
Oh my gosh.
I'm more concerned about Howard's golf game. Like, what's his handicap?
Well,
it's got to be great.
It is great because he's got a lot. That's where he does his business. I mean, let's face it. Not Jimmy. Chuck McGill was doing the heavy lifting at HHM. Right. So Howard's definitely on the course. I'd say he's a 9. But he says he's a 12,
That's right.
So he can look good.
Of course, Howard's got he's gaming, he's scheming. We do know, though, that Howard is a boxer, because, again, I follow you on Twitter, Patrick Fabian.
Yes.
And I saw this video on your account about teaching how somebody to hit an uppercut or something like that.
Yeah. That was on the Better Call Saul account as well. It's Howard in his suit showing how to deliver an uppercut.
Have you not seen this?
No, I have not.
I think we have it. Do we have that?
Oh,
no. I think we have this video because I saw this the other day, and it looked like it was somewhat official, as a matter of fact.
Oh.
And I don't know if do you have any boxing history or anything?
I do not have any boxing history. I will say, though, in order to do the video, I did do a little bit of boxing training. And my appreciation for all the muscle groups that you can use when boxing went way up.
Okay.
Because, of course, the first day of training, I was like, let's lay into this. I'll show you how hard I can hit. And then the next morning, I was getting out of bed, and I'm like, those are my lats. I didn't realize that.
Who comes up with that idea? Where they come to you and say, we want to shoot like a little promo of Howard Hamlin showing up, throwing a punch or something?
They come at us with a lot of different things. If it's a Jonathan Banks answer, he'd be like, no way, I'm not doing that. But me, I'm just like, what next? What? I'm up for anything, so.
We had Jonathan Banks called in one time, right? And he cursed 15 times. He didn't want to answer any questions, and we were done. Seriously, that was about it. I didn't know Ehrmantraut was actually calling in. I thought he was calling in.
Pretty funny.
Yeah, certainly when I asked him about him getting, wasted at the beginning of 48 Hours, he was not even into that conversation.
Oh my God, they bring that up all the time.
Maybe
with
that's
him.
right.
Yeah, they bring him up all the time. I think he's had it up
He's
to here.
had-
I know. I get shot.
Beverly Hills Cop too.
Damn it! See, I walked in here. I needed red flags. I should have called
Sorry,
you
man.
first. I should have called
I
you
can
first.
give you approved questions for him next time.
Patrick Fabian here on the Rich Eisen Show. All right, this is like Penn State Hour, huh? We just hung up with James Franklin and look,
How
you
about
strolling
that?
here.
Thanks, guys, for scheduling the head coach.
Yeah,
for me,
well,
I'm class of '87. Last time we won the championship.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was there for the Jopa years and all that stuff. And
What the wearing the camouflage against the hurricanes and stuff like that? Was
Yeah.
Was that
Oh,
was
there
that
we
your
are.
time or was that before?
No,
your time?
this is actually from this year. I got to go back.
right.
I was fortunate enough to. I'm old enough now that I got an Alumni of the Year
Hey.
award with 5 others from the College of Arts and Architecture.
Tremendous slap.
So I got to go back up and see the stadium and kiss the lion and do all that.
Okay. Who was going through that with you? Anybody that we would know? Or
Well, as a
did-
matter of fact, here's a shout out. Adam Cohn, who works for Converse.
Okay.
He got me these shoes, as a matter of fact.
He's
so
a
I'm
Penn
promoting-
State guy?
He's a Penn State guy.
Okay.
And then it's, the College of Arts and Architecture is not just a bunch of actors, it turns out. Narcissists. I was like, what? We're only actors, right? It's architects and people who are doing great stuff with their art for other people as well, And I was reminded that I'm the only one who came out to get my picture taken in Los Angeles. So, which, by the way, I guess is a skill. So we'll.
All right. So that was back in that day, and I heard you were at the Super Bowl this year. Is that a true story?
Oh, that's funny. No, Rich, I wasn't at the Super Bowl. I've been watching the NFL for about 45 years,
What
though.
happened?
And it turns out that my 11-year-old daughter,
Yes.
her very first NFL game was the Super Bowl because my sister-in-law works in the corporate world, and sometimes corporate tickets shake off the wagon. And that's Abby right there. It's her very first NFL game. She's rooting for the home team, and she's sitting right behind the Bengals end zone. So she watched all the first half scoring, then watched the great halftime show, and then watched the final 2-minute drive come right down her throat.
Wow.
And so she got me a sweatshirt, which was nice.
So you were not there, but she was?
No, I didn't get a chance to go. So I was like,
Damn.
I'm like, so
Okay.
what? I told her, I said, look, you've now gone to your first game. It's the hometown team.
Yes.
It's the Super Bowl.
In the town.
and they won, and you watch the final 2-minute drive come. You don't ever really have to go see another game.
That's it.
You're done.
That's pretty much done.
Yeah.
But I assume even though she roots for the Rams, she shares her father's distaste for the Bengals, I'd imagine?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
But here, I wanted to talk to you about this.
Since
So
you're a Steeler,
here's the
I
thing.
mean,
I'm a Steeler fan. I
Yes.
grew up, in Pennsylvania.
Yes.
But as my daughters pointed out, I've been living in Los Angeles for 35 years.
Yeah.
And so they said, when are you going to root for the home team?
Oh.
So we all got Ram stuff. And I wondered what there I am.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so there I am.
God,
and
I don't know who you are anymore.
Well,
Look at
the
you on the
thing is-
beach for the volleyball?
are you allowed to have 2 teams? At least it's not in conference.
You're in the right
Sir.
place.
place.
You know what I
Right
mean?
place.
You have,
Come
no,
to the right
you have no idea what you've walked into.
I'm a
Turn over
professional.
your right shoulder and say hello to Altoona, Pennsylvania's finest, T.J. Jefferson.
Okay, so
Hello.
what's the deal? Can we?
Well, it depends. Are we talking one sport?
I'm talking just football right now.
You know, I get a lot of grief because I have multiple teams in college, but it's Patrick, football's 17 games. It's, but you know what? If you're Steelers and the Rams, you two different
champion.
conferences, 2 different coasts.
2 different conferences, yeah.
I'm all for it. I say do what you like.
I like that too. I mean,
Do what you like.
I'm kind of rationalizing. I'm like, oh, it's for the kids, but then I look like a carpetbagger because all of a sudden I'm wearing a brand new Rams sweatshirt a month before they win the Super Bowl.
What would all the Yinzers think of the man with his volleyball on his beach?
Oh, they would not
with
like
his
it.
shades and
the
his
fact
Rams
that,
gear.
The fact that that's been aired now, I'm pretty much dead in the water
Over.
with Steeler Nation.
I mean, your
would
Primanti
imagine.
Brothers card has been revoked.
Yeah.
Oh no!
Your privileges have been revoked. But T.J. Jefferson roots for the Cowboys, even though
I'm
he's
sorry.
Even though
In the
he's
middle
from
of the state, rooting for the Cowboys.
right?
That's his
Penn
only
State.
football team, but yeah,
no, but
but-
you root for Penn State and Florida State, right? And
Pitt.
in college bet, there it is, right
and
up on the
Pitt,
screen.
and
Look at this.
Pitt.
These are all his teams.
Okay, all right, I get it.
But there's a reason
Philadelphia
for
and
every
the
one of
Clippers.
these teams.
Wow,
Georgetown and Duke and Penn State and Florida State and the Penguins and
that's a lot.
The Mets.
I feel better.
The Mets.
The
And
Mets. Wow.
See now,
Is that
all
why he's
over
in the
the place.
corner?
hold on. Now let me ask you this question. Partially, yes. Now that you have received the okay to root for multiple teams.
Thank you.
It's okay with
From
me.
him, and you were ready to accept that. Now that you know all the information, are you concerned that he's the one that it allows you to feel good about yourself?
As long as I get a green light, I'm going to take it.
And you got it.
I'm going to take it. Look,
Thank
the fact is, I do. You know,
nice.
I am the guy who's playing volleyball every weekend in Los
I
Angeles.
wouldn't worry. I mean,
this
look,
person is anymore.
Mike and I are
It's okay.
Rams season ticket holders. And
Yeah.
Yeah, but dude, come on, stop it.
whatever.
Rams season ticket holders. You're honestly.
6 years I've had season tickets.
But how many games in 6 years have you gone to?
Great question. I don't
Okay.
know.
If the Steelers are playing the Rams, that's the guy for you to talk to.
If you want second row, because they'll definitely sell you.
Second row.
That's the guy to
They're
talk
such
to.
diehard fans, Patrick, that they'll give up their ticket.
His nickname is StubHub. No, I'm just joking.
Well, you got to pay the rent somehow, right?
That's Stub and Hub. My guys, Stub and Hub.
No, seat geek over there.
Very well
I
done.
don't know. Maybe.
Well, thanks for working me through the shame. I appreciate it.
No shame, Patrick. No shame.
We're always here for you.
Altoona, Pennsylvania. If you could describe it as one of two things, you can only describe it as one of two things. You have to give me an answer here. East Coast or Eastern Time Zone? One of the others. East Coast or Eastern Time Zone?
I'll give it East Coast.
What?
Horseshoe Curve.
Look out. He's coming over
Right?
to get, he's coming over to tap you up.
Yeah, I know what we're talking about.
Where are you from exactly?
Harrisburg.
Michael Parsons.
Please tell me you were born in Harrisburg General Hospital.
I wasn't. I was born in Pittsburgh.
Oh.
Sorry.
Nice try. We have some nice party
Me and
gifts
Micah
for you.
Parsons, though,
That's
represent.
very
I know that.
good.
This is my favorite guest. I mean, I've always been a fan.
That's because he brings, because he brings HHM swag for you.
Hey,
guys to have
speaking
on
of which,
By the way,
this may be a regift. This may be a
Betting
regift.
I don't care. What do you got? What do you got?
Betting slip?
Did I give you
Pens for everybody. Oh, wow. They come in its own little. Look at this. Look how they come in. Whoa.
Yes.
Comes in its own very nice.
We are in.
Oh, yeah.
Very nice.
I get two. I'll take it. Thank you, sir. With my Hamlin McGill notebook from the last time you were here.
Indigo blue. Oh, no, it's black. That's odd. That's very, very ironic. It's not. I thought it would be Hamlin.
Now, is that a-
Indigo Blue? No.
By the way, is that
No,
a
no, we're
sign-
serious
is that a
when we sign our
sign?
names. Absolutely.
Is that a
No
sign
frivolity.
for what's coming on this season? That it's
What is coming on the season? I don't know. Tonight's episode is a real rocker, and I tell you what. Here's the thing. The truth is, and yes, I'm in the show, and I feel like I'm a homer on this. They really deliver this season. It's really good. All the balls that they've rolled up to the mountaintop that are starting to teeter and roll
thrown
down.
into your driveway.
Oh man, they careen. They do stuff. You're not gonna not be
All right.
undisappointed.
Do you have the Namaste license plate?
I have one of them.
Yes.
Okay.
Fantastic.
one.
That's a good one. What else have you got from the
Those pens, they only made one. They only made one for 7 seasons on the show. It sat there the entire time. Properties made one, and the very last day, that's not it.
Damn it!
The very last day, they gave it to me. Properties gave it to me, and they said, "Here, man, take this." So that's the only thing I really took.
Okay.
And I always get asked about the suits.
Yep.
You know, did the suits come home with me because they're tailor-made for me? Di Stefano in downtown Los Angeles,
Nice.
they do them. And Jennifer Bryan is the wardrobe designer. She put me in them. They did 90% of my work on the show, without a doubt. Those suits are not mine. Well, I mean, they paid more for the suits than they did for me, to be honest. To be fair to Sony, so they're gonna keep those.
Well, you look great in them.
Thanks, man.
And you're awesome. You're awesome. And this show is awesome. New episodes again of the 6th and final season of Better Call Saul, Monday nights, including tonight at 9 Eastern on AMC. And the second part of the final season will air beginning July 11th. The man who plays Howard Hamlin, Harrisburg's finest, although we just don't know who he is anymore. Rooting for the Rams, playing beach volleyball in his custom-made suits from Di Stefano here in Los Angeles. But you're still the same old Patrick Fabian. Thanks for coming on, sir.
Absolutely, man. Thank you.
Patrick Fabian on Twitter. I follow him. You should as well. We're back here to set up the rest of the week. Look at that, man. I do not know who that man is anymore.
California living.
Look at that. There's no yins up there.
No, baby.
Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.